Welcome to the HMO Property Show by investors for investors. Brought to you by the HMO Property Co, Australia's leaders in impact investing. Investments made with the intention to generate a measurable, beneficial social or environmental impact alongside a positive financial return. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing.
Welcome back to the HMO Property Show. I'm your host, Mr. Neil Gabe, and today I'm going to give you 12 how to raise finance and use other people's money for property deals. Now, a lot of people have listened to episode 5 of the HMO Property Show, and it's called Manufactured Growth Strategies. And I talked about the different ways that you can force value onto real estate by using the likes of renovations, subdivisions, construction, and layering strategies on top of each other to get the maximum outcome for the amount of time and money invested. And people have reached out to me and said, Neil, I really like that episode. However, I've got no money to do a deal. And a lot of people think you need money to make money. And in a sense you do, but it doesn't always need to be your money. You can always use other people's money, or when we first got into real estate, it was called OPM. Still is called OPM, but there's just too many acronyms in the world for everybody. So I'm just going to refer to it as other people's money in this podcast. So all the way through the real estate journey that we've had now, and my wife and I have done so many renovations. We've lost count. For ourselves, we've probably done 10 to 12 renovations. For our clients, we've probably done about 70 or 80. We've done subdivisions, we've done 3, 4 and 5 unit developments. Currently working on a 15 NDIS apartment build, and all of these have been done with virtually zero of my own money. And today I want to share with you how we can do that and where to get access to this money from. Now, what I will say in this as well is knowledge is power, but execution of said knowledge is where the power comes into, because just knowing and not to do is not to know. So hopefully if you're stuck and you feel like you don't realise or you don't understand how to get access to other people's money, hopefully this podcast helps you. If it does, reach out and let me know. I'd love to get some feedback from you. So what you need to start doing, right, is you need to start building relationships and look for investors before you actually need the cash. Because if you just start running up to everybody in a frantic state going, I found this deal, I need the cash, then they can sense the desperation in you. And no one wants to really invest with anybody that's desperate because they feel like that they haven't done the numbers right. So a lot of people also, you need to remember that they're investing for themselves. They're not investing for you. Some people will invest because they like you, but they are still investing their hard-earned money into your project to get an outcome for themselves. Now, there's a lot of cash-rich and equity-rich, but time-poor investors out there, and they're the people that we need to target as active property developers and property investors and renovators and subdividers, whatever you want to call yourself. So you really need to think long term that, just because you listen to this podcast, it doesn't mean you're going to go out and find a joint venture partner tomorrow. You might do, but this is a long-term game. Property is a long-term game. Someone a couple of months ago said to me, it's all right for you, you've got this big team around you, but hasn't always been this way for me and my wife. We've worked our asses off, and there's an element of hard work that needs to be done before you can work smart. And now we've built a team and we're leveraging other people, other systems, other processes, and we've really got a machine that works now. But you need to start somewhere. The journey of 10,000 miles starts with that first step. So what I would say to anybody that's wanting to get into this now, that anybody that you meet from this day forward could potentially be a joint venture partner or capital investor in some of your projects. So start building relationships now. And I would also say that action is louder than words. So you've always got to be on your best behavior. People are always watching. And if you are doing any of the educations out there, whether it's I Love Real Estate or whether it's anything, whatever you're doing, put it on social media and start sharing some of the knowledge without obviously sharing too much of the other person's IP, but start sharing information about projects that you've been looking at. And people will first of all notice you on social media unless you're face to face with them all the time. But social media is such a powerful tool because you can get one to many, 1 to 200, 1 to 500, however big the following is that you've got on social media. You can get one piece of content in front of them all, and if it's compelling enough, then somebody will stop and read it. And let's be honest, everybody likes making money. A lot of people have a certain belief system around that, but at the end of the day, we all need money, whether it's the basics to just get you through life or whether you want to live a life of absolute travel and freedom and desire and opulent materials. Whatever you want, that is entirely up to you. But social media, right? I would, if I was you, and my mentor at the minute, Ryan Tuckworth, says he does the 5-3-1 method. So every night he goes on social media and he comments on 5 posts. He comments on 5 posts. He likes 3 others. Likes 5, comments on 3, and he does 1 post himself every day. Now, if you're commenting on 3 different posts every single night, that's 21 opportunities for everybody else's network to see you. And let's not just say nice work, well done. Let's try and expand on this. So if it's somebody that's saying they've just done a renovation work, you could say something along the lines of, great work, would love to know more about this deal. Could we catch up for a coffee? Even if you live in a different state, who knows, you could do a virtual coffee. That's the way the world's gone nowadays. But just make sure that you really tidy your social media up first and foremost, because like I say, people are always watching. Now, don't live in a fantasy world and start helping old ladies across the street and Snapchatting it and WhatsApping it to everybody, because people will see straight through that. But make sure that you are adding value to people's lives on social media, whether you're putting posts out there that help people or whether you're commenting on their posts and giving them value for the stuff that they're asking for. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, 3 of the main social media platforms, but TikTok, from what I hear, is blowing up now. I installed TikTok on my phone and I lost like 3 weeks of my life, just sat there scrolling through all these videos, so I've actually deleted it. But the team in the office, they still use it, and apparently our life on TikTok is pretty good. The next thing to do to get yourself out there and get more people knowing you is networking events. Now, when we first started this business up, our first employee was Paula, the mother-in-law, who's actually retiring on Friday. And our second employee was a lovely little lady called Kayla Van Staden. And Kayla reached out to me. Again, she had joined a education program. It was Mark Rolton's Property Options. She put a post into a social media group saying, has anybody in Perth done a subdivision using a property option? And I said, yes, I have done a subdivision using an option. Let me know if you want to know more information. She sent me a message. We caught for a coffee. 6 weeks later, she was working for us full time. And that lady worked for us just until recently, when she has packed her bags and gone traveling. And from what I understand at the minute, she's in Chile or somewhere in South America. So you never know where these little engagements on social media can take you. Networking event. So yes, that's why I was talking about Kayla. So when Kayla first joined us, she was like, how do I meet more people, do this? I said, well, you're going to have to go to networking events. That's the biggest thing. And she hated networking events, absolutely hated them. Just wasn't her thing, but I pushed her out of her comfort zone on a daily basis, and she started going to these networking events and meeting more and more people, and she started helping more people. And now she is a total different person to the person that first reached out to me on that social media platform. So networking events are huge. Now, if you can do one networking event per week, that's 52 networking events. That's a chance to meet at least 52 new people in your network. And if you're going to all them networked events every week, then there's a good chance that you'll get noticed. And whilst you're there, you can, if you're doing these education components, you can start to share what you know. If you've known about renovations, if you've been watching these videos on subdivisions, and you've been asking the right questions, you can share some of the stuff that you've learned from some of the people that you've been engaging with. If you've been speaking to town planners, if you've been speaking to council, people from council, share that knowledge with some of the people at the networking events. But don't pretend you know it all. There's a fine line between being humble and being braggy, and it's a very tough line to tread. But whatever you do when you're at these networking events as well, let people watch you from afar, and they'll decide for themselves whether they want to invest in you at some point. Now, it generally takes between 3 to 10 touch points for somebody to want to invest. But if you're in the early stages of this journey, then you just want to be going to these networking events. Make yourself some little business cards with your name on and say property investor. Put your details on there. Get yourself a little logo. Make sure that the people that you're connecting with remember who you are, and ask them if there's any way you can add value to what they're doing. We do get a lot of people reaching out to us asking if they can work here for free so they can learn some things. But whilst that can be quite beneficial for us as a business, it can also be quite time draining as well, because we've got to sit there and take someone through certain things. And if they've got zero experience at all in what we're doing, then again, it can be quite tough, even though we're getting that work for free. It's, again, such a fine balance. But make business cards up, get your name on, get your little logo on there. Make sure you give them to everybody. If you are too trendy for a business card, because someone said to me business cards are becoming obsolete, there's an app called Tapt, T-A-P-T, and you can install that on your phone. It's like a digital business card that connects to the other person's phone. Pretty cool little tool. They're about $80. That's one good way to get remembered, because if you go there, no one else is seeing it, and they're like, oh, just hover over this card, and it automatically drops your details into their phone, and they'll be like, oh, that's cool. You can put all your social media links in there. You can put pictures of yourself. You put your website on there. You can put everything in. It's really, really cool way of being remembered at one of these things. Now, on the flip side of that, for every business card that you collect, I would go home the next day, I would wake up and I would bang out an email to every single person whose business card I've got. And to make it a little bit simple, I'd create a bit of a basic script, but then I'd add in some particular certain personal touch points about what you've learned about that person, or trying to get a memory anchor back into the conversation that you had last night. So, Jim, it was really nice to meet you last night, and really intriguing to hear, or really beneficial to hear all the information that you shared with me around the subdivision that you're doing in Rivervale, for instance. Always put that little personal touch in there. And again, ask them if there's anything you can do for them. When we first started, I worked with a few different people, and we worked together where they were helping me send letters out to subdivision sites to try and find off-market deals. And the deal was, like, if we get any of them, then we'll get the subdivision. I'll raise the capital through my joint venture partners, and then once the property sells down, I'll give you a percentage of that deal as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can negotiate how to make a deal work best for both parties. And then I've touched on this one as well, property events and actual training events, the likes of Isle of Real Estate. Now, Dimpner's got over 10,000, I think it's 11,000 people in an Isle of Real Estate community right now. That's 11,000 investors, and granted, not all of them will be active, but how many property deals can you do a year? If you do 4 deals a year, then you only need to tap into 4 of them 11,000 investors. Are all of them property investors, or all of them cash-rich, time-poor investors that are looking to partner with people like you and me to do deals so that they can put their money into a deal and get a good return? And they also believe that if you were in that room, you've gone through all the training, you understand the methodologies that the trainer is teaching, and therefore you are probably a better bet than somebody that has just found a property and decided they want to renovate it, but they don't have feasibilities, they don't have checklists to go to, they don't have all the information that you get from these courses. So property training events are an absolute goldmine for investors. The first property event that I went to was an Isle of Real Estate boot camp, and the first joint venture I did was a lady that was sat on the table in that boot camp, and there was, I don't know, probably 200 150 to 200 people in that room that day, and the chances of me sitting on the table with the person that would eventually become a joint venture partner in our first and second deal, and also they've done 2 HMOs with us as well, and we've become really good friends over this time period as well. So again, you never know who's watching. When I sat down, I would never have picked that person to be a joint venture partner. But again, looks can be deceiving. Don't judge a book by its cover. You just never know what is around the corner or who you sat next to. And I'll go back to that one out. The thing that I said earlier is anybody that you meet from this day forward could become a joint venture partner with you. So there you go. Once you've found a deal, and I'm going to get, I know this podcast is called the 12 Ways to Raise Cash, but I'm just helping people understand that this is the way that you get to the point of raising cash. You need to make sure that you find the right people to raise the cash from. So once you've got a deal, once you've got your joint venture partners, because remember, we're going to find the partner first before we find the deal. So you may have 3 or 4 people that could be interested in working with you. Don't just make sure you've got the one. I've got a list of people now, of people who want to actively invest in some of our projects. I just can't find projects fast enough. So you'll get to that stage eventually, but have your list of investors, find your deal, get your foot on the deal, try and get some due diligence or try to get it under option, whatever way you can do it. And then what I do is I go away and I put together anything between like a 5 and 10 page pitch deck. And, you know, I'm a very simple person, so I keep this very simple. You can pretty it up and put logos all over the place. And I basically do the front page, a picture of the property with the address and what we're going to do to it. So 21 Smith Street, 3-lot subdivision with a picture of it. And then in the second page, I do the property details. So I'll put the lot numbers, the address, the government, the zoning, any links to any of the planning policies or planning schemes that we need to be across. And then on the third page, I give them a bit of a detail about what we're going to do with the property and why it's going to work. I give them suburb demographics and why the end product is going to be wanted in that suburb, because there's no point building 4-bedroom houses in a suburb where we need apartments. That makes sense. Then on the next page, I do the feasibility, and then on the page after that, I do some more information about the suburb and the demographics and stuff like that, and or recent sales data and sales comparables. And I get on a Zoom call, or I invite people into the office and I go through that pitch deck with them and answer any questions there and then on the project. And if you're putting that pitch deck together, you should really know that project inside out. So you should be pretty sharp on your numbers. And if you've got a list of favorites, do your least favorite first to get the feedback from that person who is probably not your most wanted go-to kind of investor. And there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, you've got best friends and you've got friends. So if you've got a best investor, save your pitch deck for that person last, and practice on the people that you don't think will invest or you potentially might not want to work with long term as well. Because joint ventures are kind of like a marriage as well. You're going to be working with this person for minimum 6 months and potentially maximum 36 months as well. So get to know these people really well. Don't just bring anybody in. Like I said, the relationships that we built with our joint venture partners now, they're all friends. You know, we'll go for food with them, we'll go for drinks with them. They've done multiple deals with us now as well. So, okay, once you or the investor is comfortable with the deal and the money that's required and the outcome that we're going to create, then what we normally do is we create a heads of agreement, or a HOA. And basically a heads of agreement, it's not a legal document, but it is a document that will create the nuts and bolts of the deal and how the joint venture will look moving forward. And what you need to do is fill out that heads of agreement. Both parties will sign it. Then you pass it on to a lawyer or a solicitor, and they will just create a document that is just so confusing with 25 pages, and really only 2 or 3 of them need reading by you. But this is what lawyers and solicitors are there for. They're there to protect both parties. Make sure you get an independent lawyer from your other lawyer. The solicitor that we use can work for both parties, although he doesn't want a massive volume of work right now. But yeah, try and get different parties or different legal teams for different parties That way, they're both getting independent advice, and it's not a conflict of interest. And once you've got that joint venture agreement there, sign it, pop the champagne, because that's your first joint venture formed and ready to do a deal. Okay, so we are getting to the nuts and bolts of the podcast now. We're 20 minutes in. God, I can ramble on sometimes. You can tell I'm quite passionate about this, because raising capital and doing joint ventures has really accelerated the journey that we've been on, and it's really got us into the position that we're in now. So 12 ways to raise cash. Number one, you can get a gift from your family. It seems very basic, but a lot of people look straight past this and think that they can't go to the family for a joint venture, for capital. So you can either get a gift from your family if you're fortunate enough that your family are in a position where they can physically gift you money. You can also, number two, get a loan from your family. If people want to invest in your projects, then you can again write up your heads of agreement, send it off the joint venture partner, and you can get a loan from your family. Very simple. Number three, a lot of people look straight past this one as well. You can get a loan from your friends or people that are already in your network. Remember, this day forward, everybody around you could be a potential investor. People that you've looked past in every single day and walked past them every single day. They might be set on $250,000 in the bank account that at the minute's getting them maybe 2%. And you could be saying, if you want to invest in this project, I can give you 15%. It's a very attractive offer. It's a very compelling offer. So never dismiss the people that are in your own personal network around you now, because you don't know what you don't know until you ask them questions. And remember, these people are always watching you. So sometimes actions speak louder than words. And if they can see you reading books and watching webinars and going to networking events, and they can see the change in you as a person, because once you do start on this journey, it becomes visible to other people. You will physically change, and I can hand on heart now say I am not the same person I was 10 years ago, and in 10 years time I will not be the same person I am now, because I've committed to a lifetime of non-stop learning and growth, and I just want to continue to be a better person for my wife, my family, my kids, and my team, and all of my clients and friends around me as well. So that's a little personal journey that I'm going on. Depending on the size of the deal as well, you can also just get a personal loan from the bank. Now, that loan would be in your name. It wouldn't be tied into any property or any assets or anything like that. So depending on how good your credit rating is, you could go to the bank and get a personal loan. Now, if you're not sure on your credit rating or how to check your credit rating, there's a website called Equifax, and you can do a free credit rating check on there. It's pretty good. And they can also give you some feedback on how you can tidy up your credit rating if it's a little bit low. Mine has been all over the place. Mine's been in the low, mine's been in the high. Right now, mine sits like 3/4 to high, so between like medium and high. Excuse me. So personal loan from bank is a one that's overlooked a lot of times. Okay, so we'll touch on this as well. We've got a lot of cash rich and equity rich people, but time poor people in Australia. Lots of people have had capital growth. There's a lot of unencumbered or properties with no mortgage on them in Australia. So there's a potential that you can raise money by actually redrawing from some of your existing assets. And if you've got your principal place of residence now that's paid off, or it's got a very low loan on it, then whilst you might have comfort in the fact knowing that your mortgage is low, you also need to look at the fact that you potentially got $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 that lay dormant in that property. And yes, it's going up in value, or the property's going up in value, but you can leverage that money out of your principal place of residence, put that into 3 or 4 other properties, and then you've got your principal place of residence plus your other investments that are all going up in value at the same time. And if the cash flow positive, then you can use the cash flow from your investment assets to pay for the increased holding costs on your principal place of residence. So a lot of people may be scared of it. And look, everybody's risk appetite is totally different. There's no right or wrong in any of this, and there's no better way to do this or no worse way to do this. It's whatever you are comfortable with as a person. If you want to pay your mortgage off, that's totally fine. If you are like myself and my wife, we try to get our money into as many deals as possible at the minute because we're in expansion phase. So we want to get as many deals as possible. And then when we get to 50, we'll stop buying and we'll start paying down the debt on all of the investments that we've got. So by the time we are 60, we're kind of debt free, and we've got just a lot of cash flow coming in from all of the assets that we've got. Number 6, you could, if you have one, sell shares in your business. Now, this isn't something that I'd be interested in doing myself, but if you are looking to raise cash or equity for a deal, then that's the potential that you could do that one there. Then we've got private investors and angel investors. Now, when you do a property deal, you generally have a debt component and an equity component. For every deal that you do, the bank will want you to put in the equity so that you've got skin in the game. Now, when we're going out and raising this money, we are generally raising the equity component because the banks will lend us the debt. Now, the debt component is the one that will take the mortgage, and that means their interest rate will generally be lower. So they will take a 30-year mortgage on your principal place of residence, for instance, and they will charge you 4% per annum or 5% per annum, whatever it's up to at the minute, over the lifetime of 30 years. But they will lend you 80 or 90% of the value of that property, and you will have to put in 10 or 20% of the value of that property as well. So you put in that equity component of 10 or 20%. Now, if you're doing a property deal, a development, or you're doing a renovation or a subdivision, and you don't have that equity component, then you can go out there and get this from private investors or angel investors. Excuse me, a tickly cough. Like I say, the debt component can be anywhere from 3 to 6%, maybe 7%, depending on what the deal is. And then you may pay your joint venture partner or private investor or angel investor, you may pay them anything from 12 to 25%. I've seen on some deals. The most we paid is 20% per annum. Let's have a quick drink of coffee. The most we paid is 20%. Right now we do a lot of our deals in the sort of 12 to 15% range. I feel we built up a good enough reputation and brand now that our joint venture partners would rather have their money in a deal and be getting the lower return, knowing that their money's safe in one of our deals due to our track record. Okay, bridging loans is number 8. Now, bridging loans, they're an expensive but fast method of bridging a finance gap. So if you're short of cash to finish a project, or if you're in very urgent need, bridging is a quick but very expensive way of doing this. And if you can get it over the line with another method of finance, a bit of a hybrid model, then it could serve you well. But these are best only for very short term, as sometimes these bridging loans can cost anywhere from 2 to 3% per month. 2 to 3% per month. Now, if you look at 2%, that's 25% per annum. So if you're paying that to an investor, it's not too bad. But if you're paying 3% per month and you're paying 36% per annum, then that's an eye-watering amount of money. So before you get into the bridging loan territory, make sure that your exit is very well planned so that you know that you're only going to bring that money in for a very short amount of time. Okay, crowdfunding is number 9. So there's crowdfunding websites out there right now for real estate in particular, but crowdfunding for absolutely everything. So you can use sites like VentureCrowd and Get Caruso, where they give you access to private finance, which is being pulled together within a regulated platform, which connects lenders and borrowers together. Now, because it's a regulated platform, can't get my words out, because it's a regulated platform, investors on these platforms can put anything from, I think the lowest I've seen is $500 or $1,000, and then the maximum can be anywhere up to $5 million. I don't think there's a maximum. Probably is, but I didn't research it good enough to give you that information. So you can choose your risk level as well, and you can often borrow smaller amounts without giving security on these websites. And obviously, the way the internet's gone and blockchain technology and stuff like that, there's crowdfunding using blockchain technology at the minute, which is an interesting sort of way of doing it. Also, I've spoke to quite a few people about raising capital through blockchain and doing tokenized real estate to raise capital that way as well. It's a very interesting area, but I also think it's a very early part of this journey. So And so far, my crypto journey hasn't been the best. It's been up there where I've had like close to $1 million in cryptocurrency, and now I'm back down to about $150,000. So hopefully it gets back up to the $1 million, because I'm just going to redraw the lot and put it into property, because I know property, I understand property, I can make money in property as well. But it's this blockchain technology and crowdfunding is a very interesting space right now, and definitely something that you can look into if that's what you're interested in. All right, number 10. Excuse me, I've got a really tickly cough all of a sudden. Number 10, we've touched on it before. This is joint ventures. Now, this is different from getting a loan from a private investor or an angel investor. That's somebody putting capital into a deal. Joint ventures are generally put together where you bring multiple parties together. Now, we generally need a working partner, someone that's going to do all the work. We generally need a cash partner, and we sometimes need a serviceability partner as well. Depending on the project too, you could partner with an architect and they could be the design consultant on the project, and they could get a share of the project on the back end. You could partner with a sales and marketing team, and their commissions could come out of that project as well. So there's multiple ways that you can put a joint venture together. I'm actually going to bring in a good friend of mine, a guy called Adam Barry from Develop Capital. Adam's running about 12 or 15 joint ventures at the minute, and very active in the development space. And it's very interesting to see how he puts his joint ventures together compared to how I put my joint ventures together. And I was invited to speak at an event called Perth Property Developers, and it was on joint ventures. And there was myself, Adam Barry, and Julie Taylor, who's also been on the podcast. And the three of us spoke about the different ways that we put our joint ventures together and execute our joint ventures. And it was very interesting to see the different ways that it all come out. So I'm going to get Adam onto the podcast, and I'll get the Perth Property Developer boys on here as well to have a little hear about what they're doing and what's happening in their world. But yeah, it's very interesting. Joint ventures, you can set them up so it's a 50-50 split if you're a working partner versus the cash partner. If you've got three people in there, like a working partner, a capital partner, and a serviceability partner, you can set it up in a 30-30 split. There's no right or wrong way to do a joint venture. Or I'll rephrase that. There's no right or wrong way to split the percentages within a joint venture. It's just whatever the parties agree on. And again, you would get your heads of agreement drawn up. You would send that to the lawyer, and the lawyer would create the joint venture agreement, and then you're off to the races. All right, number 11. We're getting into the nuts and bolts of it now, guys. We've only got 2 left. Is credit cards. Now, I have done a renovation using a credit card before. Why not? It was the 55 days free on it, and we also juggled that across to another 0% offer at that time as well. So we actually paid no interest on the money that came through. Credit cards are fast, they're liquid, but they can be expensive if you get them wrong. You're generally paying like 20% per annum on them, which is also what you'd be paying in a joint venture partner as well, or a private investor or an angel investor. So they're not too bad. We use credit cards a lot in our business because we attach our credit cards to, or we use an Amex Platinum Business Reward card so that we get heaps of points for everything that we do. We've just booked flights back to England, business class. We've also booked flights back to Singapore, to Thailand next year, business class, and we've just booked 4 hotels using all of the points, and it's cost us absolutely nothing. So if you use credit cards and you get them right, it's a really good way to benefit all of the money that you're spending through these credit cards. And if you're interested in learning more about that, I learned this from a guy called Steve Huey, who I believe is called the Flight Doctor. Just look for Steve Huey, SteveHui, and he teaches people how to maximize the points that they get from their credit cards so they can fly business class all over the place. And yeah, really, really good. And also, like in 2015, a Chinese billionaire purchased a painting for 170 million with his credit card so that he could use the points for free airfare. And when I first read that, I was thinking, if he's a billionaire, why doesn't he just buy a private jet? Okay, last but not least, number 12 in 12 ways to raise cash. 12 ways to raise cash. That's a bit of a tongue twister. This one is a Gary V special. If you don't know Gary V, check him out on social media, Gary Vaynerchuk. He's very big on this, and it's selling all your shit on eBay and using garage sales. Now, we are all hoarders. We hoard a lot of stuff. I've just shelved out all my shed to get all of my stuff in there so that it frees up some space in the house for my wife to put all of her stuff, which is all the stuff that she never used in the last house or the last house before that as well. So there's always opportunities to raise cash. One man's junk is another man's treasure. You never know. Shoes, bags, clothes, tools, bikes, golf clubs. My wife's been bugging me to sell my golf clubs, but I'm determined to get back into my golf next year. Been saying that for the last 5 years. But yeah, honestly, eBays and garage sales, it's a way to just tap into a little bit of money. If you've got credit card debt and you're struggling to pay it down, have a garage sale, put some stuff on eBay, get it all sold, pay down that credit card debt, and then start doing some property deals. So I hope that helps, guys. I know I went on for a little bit there, but 12 ways to raise cash. Number 1, gift from family. Number 2, loan from family. Number 3, loan from friends or connections. Sorry, that was number 3. Number 4, personal loan from bank. Number 5, equity redraw from your existing assets. You could be sat in your principal place of residence. Number 6, you could sell shares in your business if you have one. Number 7, you could get a loan from private investors or angel investors. Number 8 was bridging loans. Number 9 was crowdfunding. Number 10, joint ventures. Number 11, credit cards. And number 12, selling your stuff on eBay or garage sales. Join us next week on the HMO Property Show. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you stay up to date with all the cash flow positive property updates.